What's up, everybody? Couch Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Valorant video, and in this video, we're going to be talking about 5 characters that need buffs. Now, for transparency, these characters might not be the worst characters in the game. In fact, some of them might be legitimately good. However, they could be better, and in some ways, they're still lacking just a little bit. So, let's talk about each of these 5, and let's break them all down. But first, let's talk about the agents that have a really high pick rate. Sova, Jett, Viper, Sage, these are all agents that basically everyone knows are very strong, but there are some agents that just according to the pro pick rate are really lagging behind, and we're doing this based on North American Challenger statistics. Now first, let's talk about our honorable mention, a character that I think is still very strong and very good. However, a recent nerf to her has been felt really hard, and it's Raze. Having the boom bot be 400 credits, in my opinion, is a little bit too far, and I think that weakness has been reflected in her pick rate, but I don't think that Raze needs a huge buff by any means. I think maybe just downing that to 350 or 300 would be far better and make the character feel a lot better to play rather than just dropping a fat load on her abilities. Now, starting the list off, we got to talk about character number 5, and it's Cypher. Cypher's still an amazing character, and with the buff that he got that makes it so Jets can't dash through Cypher's trip, that is just amazing and makes him a lot better than he was before. But you got to keep in mind that Jett is the most played duelist in the game right now, and Cypher is kind of good in a lot of ways because Jett is played so damn much. If Jett was completely out of the meta, Cypher would probably fall to the wayside to Killjoy because of that interaction no longer existing in the meta. I think his kit is actually perfect, but I would just reduce the cost of the trap wires, making them 150 instead of 200. That's all he needs to just feel a lot better, and you have a lot more flexible options, especially in that pistol round. Now, these next characters are going to be characters that legitimately have a very low pro pick rate, starting off with a character that might surprise you in Phoenix. Phoenix is one of the least played agents in the entire game in the bottom 4, and even though Phoenix is still a great character to play in ranked, from an overall power level point of view, there's just many duelists that have the competitive edge over Phoenix. He does a lot of things, but he doesn't do any one thing that amazing. And I do think that Phoenix could receive a buff in a couple of ways, but the most important one, I think, would just be to increase the amount of healing he gets from his own abilities, specifically the Flame Wall and the Molly. I think right now we're at a point where it's typically not worth it at all to try to heal over using these abilities to create space or clear a cubby, and most of the time that's going to be true. But if these abilities healed up a lot more, I think that the decision would be a little bit closer, a little bit harder to make, and it's something that I think could really benefit Phoenix. Or you could also make his flashes cheaper. I don't know if that's the route to go, but definitely a slight buff to Phoenix would feel really good for Phoenix mains. And if you want to know more about how to dominate on Phoenix, go check out our GameLeap website down below. Now, moving on to number 3 on our list is actually Breach. Now, Breach recently got a change where it was a lot easier for him to flash. He could flash and peek now, but he only has 2 flashes. And the idea here is to make Breach a less synergy-based character where you don't have to always have allies follow him up. But even in the pro scene, he doesn't see any play, which means in the rank scene, he's also going to see very little play. And I don't really think that Breach is at the power level needed for him to see any play at all. While I do think his Aftershock is actually pretty good, his Concussion is an ability that I think really kind of misses the mark. He's really a one trick in a lot of different ways, where he's very linear in the way to play him. He really needs very specific setups, and he does the same thing every single time. I think that you could either rework one of his abilities or increase the power level overall, but this one kind of throws me for a loop. I want to know your opinion about what they need to do with Breach and why. Do you think that he should become good enough to see play in his current state, or would you like him changed in some way so that he was a much different type of character and more flexible? Let me know down below. Now, the next character that I gotta talk about is actually Brimstone. Brimstone sees a very low pro pick rate right now, and while Brimstone's like the perfect controller to flex to if you don't play controller, he is not that great when you compare him to his counterparts, the other controllers, whether it's Omen, Astra, or Viper. Now, I think there's several problems with Brimstone, the biggest one being the stim beacon. The fact that that ability is just completely useless like 95% of the time. I would much prefer that being something something completely different. I've seen multiple suggestions like altering it to where you don't throw it down, but you activate it and anyone near Brimstone, it's like automatically active all around him. That would be pretty cool. Or just get rid of the ability entirely and replace it with something else. I know that you could alter his smokes to where he like regenerates smokes or things like that, but I don't really think that's necessary when he has some of the longest lasting smokes in the game. I do think that when Molly is like the only other important ability he has, he definitely needs some power in some other spaces, and there seems to be a really easy rework to an ability that could just make him feel a lot better to play. Now, the last character we gotta talk about is a character that is getting a rework, of course, and it's Yoru. Yoru needs those buffs. He doesn't just need a rework to make him feel different, he needs a strength increase overall. I think his teleport's a very strong ability. I think his ultimate is okay. Sometimes it gets some value, but the faster that they allow a Yoru to pop out of his ultimate, the more effective it's gonna be. If a Yoru could pop out incredibly quickly, that would definitely be really cool. If he could pop out and potentially fire at someone almost right away, might be a little bit too powerful though. So it's very interesting how they're gonna balance that. And then, of course, the footsteps is like the big, you know, sore thumb where the footsteps basically does nothing against good players, and against bad players, they don't even know that you're trying to trick them. So really, it's a very inconsistent ability, and I've said many times before, like a deafening ability, in my opinion, would be far better. But how you balance that, that's completely up in the air. Like, would you be deaf when you even fire a gun? That might be too broken. Would you be deaf for 2 seconds or 5 seconds? Could you run while you're deaf? Like, how do you balance that where it's good, but not too good? Because it's very easy to make a deafening ability like completely overpowered, but I want to know your opinion on that. How would you balance Yoru if you had all the decisions? Let me know in the comments down below. Go to the GameLeap website for in-depth guides and VOD reviews over all these characters, and I really hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for coming by. I love y'all's faces, and I'll see y'all next time.